Lads, on the day of the NHL starting its season, it doesn't matter because the biggest trade of the NBA season has happened and the president got impeached again. How are we?
A lot to take in the last 15 minutes now, 20 minutes.
An hour before the Penguins game starts.
I know.
Well, I saw what is happening was trending. That's the situation we're in right now. Couldn't give the NHL their day.
No, of course not. Of course not. That'd be the nice thing to do.
Yeah, no, but this is the day that Brooklyn decide, you know what, we're just going to trade away every first rounder, all of them.
Imagine if that happened in hockey.
Well, see, this is
Never.
Isn't there a rule, and this is dumb for the NHL, that you can't trade your pick that's
the consecutive ones, yeah.
That's in the NBA.
The NBA.
Right?
The NHL doesn't have that.
They don't really.
No.
So you could just do like, I'm trading 6 first rounders for pure.
Yeah. I remember Tampa every year, always like when they weren't winning the cups, but they were always so close. They kept trading their first round picks to the Islanders for some reason.
Like in Pittsburgh did the same thing.
Yeah.
I think. Either
they traded Klim Klosted for Ryan Reeves.
Either they traded the pick or they traded the player that they selected with the pick.
Yeah.
Well, to be fair, they're still doing that.
We are on a Samuel Poulin watch right now.
They literally don't have next year's first round pick either. I feel like people forget this.
Yeah,
they have Jason Zucker.
They kept this year, and then Minnesota gets next year. Right?
Yeah, so they kept this year, traded it for Kasperi Kapanen, and then said Minnesota will get yours. You'll get ours next year.
All right. Well, that sounds like an Ottawa situation waiting to happen now, guys. There is a real chance that by the time people listen to this podcast, it's completely out of date.
That's okay.
Again, tonight.
It's about the adventure.
The bizarre adventure.
The bizarre.
Yes. What a great time in our lives.
But tonight, the NHL's 2021 season starts officially, guys. And yeah, Pittsburgh play Philly. We don't care about that because the Canadiens and the Leafs are kicking it off in the North Division. The nightcap, I sound official when I say that. The nightcap is the Oilers and the Canucks. So later in the show, we will preview the Canadiens and Leafs. It's the main event, whatever. But before we get there, there's been some news, names of some captains, some updates regarding certain teams' cap situations, some trade speculation. But first, guys, congratulations to Dylan Larkin on being named Detroit's captain. Something I think we all thought had already happened, but turns out not, Daniel.
Yeah, it kind of felt like he was already the captain in a way, not Justin Abdicator or Darren Helm, but Dylan Larkin. I think he's someone that has been a bit of a bright spot that I think things are on the up and up now for the Red Wings with the draft picks they've got and the leadership they have with Steve Yzerman. But Dylan Larkin was really that guy. You looked at where they lucked out on in getting him 15th overall, that he's really developed into someone that kind of represents that identity, something that I think has been missing up until this point.
Daniel, don't forget about Franz Nielsen and Luke Glendening, okay?
Of course, yes.
I know they're not the first names that come to mind, but
remember when Luke Glendening almost was a Leaf?
Yep.
Yeah.
One of them. By the way, you are right. Exactly. 15th overall, 2014. Yeah, one of the few bright spots in Detroit. It's like him, Mantha, and that's it.
Like I don't really think there was a better candidate for their captaincy.
No, I think.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go.
I was just gonna say I think Dylan Larkin gets a lot of crap because. I think everyone expected him to be such an elite player, and he didn't necessarily fulfill that. Like he's by no means is he a bad player. He's a bare minimum a top 6 guy. I think he's honestly he's a first line center. Like I don't really know if that like I think there's people would make an argument that he's not, but I think you also have to look at what's around him. Right.
I think there was that winning tradition there where the Red Wings at the time they drafted him, they were still technically, getting by with what they had. And they didn't have what we've seen before where, you see the Steve Yzerman, Brendan Shanahan era. And then for that era, it's the Nick Lidstrom, Henrik Zetterberg, Pavel Datsyuk era. And then suddenly, after that's not there anymore, you have Dylan Larkin, and I think that was that pressure where they wanted him immediately to be that guy.
You took the words right out of my mouth there, Daniel. His sort of rise came right as Zetterberg started really having the back issues. Datsuk ran away to Russia. It was literally worst timing for the guy, and that's really just the worst case that could have happened to him. Because again, Lidstrom had retired a few years before that, and it was that we're gonna try and sign any other like Trevor Daley was the guy they tried to bring in to keep it around, and a lot of people expected Larkin to be Zetterberg. No, that's not how this works. But I mean, on probably a championship level team, you would love to have Larkin as your second line center, I'd say. I think he's around the same level as a Sean Monahan. And again, I'm someone who's very high on Monahan. And not to mention, the guy is just a speed demon. I believe he still holds the fastest skater record, doesn't he?
I believe so.
Yeah.
Or Barzell just broke it. But Dylan Larkin, man, the guy can't grind.
He's also 24 years old. Like, I feel like he's been in the league
for so long.
We all think about Dylan Larkin. I feel like, he's been in the league for 5 years. This will be his 6th year. Wow. But it feels like he's been in the league forever.
So he's already made Detroit right away then. Or first or second year after being drafted.
Second year.
Second year.
He played.
Wow, he didn't even play in the AHL either.
No, he played 1 year at Michigan, in the NCAA, and then hopped right into Detroit.
Talk about a local guy.
Mm-hmm. Another captaincy. Vegas officially named their first captain in franchise history, Mark Stone. And I am so happy for Mark Stone because he survived Ottawa, I guess is a nice way of putting it. Got a massive deal, is a perennial nowadays, a Selke Trophy finalist. Hopefully he'll get one by the end of his career. But another very well-deserving one. I'm sure Pacioretty, after his time in Montreal, said, no, thank you, I don't want that. Pietrangelo has also been given an A, which is pretty interesting. But the leadership group in Vegas is really forming here. And I don't think there was a better choice than Mark Stone. Right.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think the Vegas was such an interesting team off the ice because it's not like it's full of leaders, right? The whole idea, and what I mean by that is like when they got first formed, the whole thing was we are a bunch of guys who couldn't make it with their previous teams, and most of them did. Tuck, Carlson. I mean, Smith and Marchessault made it, but with Florida, I don't know why Florida did that, but that mentality there, and I think they added such key pieces, Mark Stone, even Max Pacioretty. I know, he was a captain in Montreal. They added guys who will make that locker room better, and I think Mark Stone's was the best choice for them looking at their roster.
Mm-hmm. All right, Daniel, did he play in the World Juniors? I gotta know.
Yes, Mark Stone did play in the World Juniors. Got a silver medal though. But what I like about Mark Stone is, I think this was a long time coming. I remember in Ottawa where I think the condition was if he does stay, for sure they're giving him the captaincy.
Yes.
That it was already something that was going to happen. And then when he goes to Vegas, he just is that guy that I think you could rely on all sides of the ice. He plays that 200-foot game. He is excellent at interviews. He is someone that has been able to really balance things out. And I think that this helps Vegas moving forward, where now they have that established leadership group. And if they want to take that next step, they have people to kind of rely on now to say, hey, this is the leadership in the room. This is what we're going to do. And this is how we're going to handle it.
Mm-hmm. Next piece of news here. We're going rapid fire because we want to give a good bit of time for Montreal and Toronto. Mike Milbury is out in NBC as an analyst after a few sexist comments on air in the bubble. And NBC have been very brave here and have replaced him with Mike Babcock.
Why you say that's brave? Because I think they're very different type of people.
You went from a guy who's like, joke about women's sports to the guy who was like being called like a manipulator and like all the stuff with Mitch. It's just it's a worse kind of crap, but it's still kind of crap. The guy still has a reputation is what I mean.
Yeah.
That's what how Alex's initial reaction to this. That's what I always just thought of.
I mean, I don't really watch, like, I rarely look at the NBC broadcast unless it's on. And then, I say this all the time. I rarely listen to the intermissions. Mm-hmm. Recently I have been, but like, I don't know. Just sometimes just one of those
Gary
things.
Galley's doing the Habs Leafs game tonight. I don't know what I'm going to do about it.
No, but like, I think it's an interesting thing. Like, you're right. Like, I think in the past he's had, obviously with the Leafs and even with the Red Wings, some questionable things he's done. I want to say it's going to be different, but I don't know. Like, I don't think, okay, here's what I think I know for sure. I don't think we're going to get into the territory of having discussions like we were having discussions about Cherry and Milbury. I don't think that's really going to happen because it never, those type of things never seem to really be an issue. But I do think, I think unless things have completely changed, I think we're going to have some discussions of the way he talks about behind the game, the off the ice. I don't think we're necessarily going to have issue. I think we're going to disagree with him on how he thinks of the things on the ice, because that's just how I disagreed with him all the time. But I'm also just doing a podcast. He's a coach. So but it'll be interesting.
Don't undersell yourself, Alex.
Well, you know what, Daniel, there is like, say what you want about his style and if he still kind of coaches and what could still succeed in the NHL today. But I just wonder if he's going to be, like, if we're going to enjoy listening to him, because it's not like he's ever been that charismatic a guy. And I mean, Brian Burke has a certain charm to him. Like, Brian Burke is not bursting with personality, but he's got this, I can't describe it, but it's just this likability about it. Maybe it's his sort of no nonsense attitude, but it's just, I don't know. I don't get the same feeling with Babcock. And again, like us in Canada would only see it when there's an NBC SN sort of American game. Like, I'm assuming with the Pens game, it goes through that. But your take on this as well, Daniel, former Ducks coach.
That's pretty funny. He is someone that I kind of agree with, where it's just been so stoic. I remember meeting him at one of their training camps with the prospects. This was
what?
Yeah, he was just signing autographs. I got to meet him.
I was gonna say, how have you never told this story on the podcast?
Oh, I don't know. So this is the story. When Austin Matthews was drafted, they had one of their prospect training camps in Niagara Falls at one of the arenas there. And my friend's like, "Here, man, I got tickets. Let's go." I'm like, "All right, let's go." There was like a morning of decision. And then, we got to watch it. I remember Austin Matthews was wearing like 64 for some reason. And Anthony Brodeur was in net for one of the teams. That was pretty funny. But it was great. Got to see Nylander as well. I got to see Marner. But then, I got to meet Mike Babcock. A funny story about this is I was in such a rush for him to sign something that the two things I found were a Maple Leafs puck and a Grant Fuhr card on the Leafs. So I have a Mike Babcock autograph on a Grant Fuhr card.
I can't believe you never. Well, sorry, go on about your.
Just meeting him. I guess this was just in a fan perspective kind of thing. And there were like not too many people, which I was really surprised. I thought this would be packed because, Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner, William Nylander, and Travis Dermott. I remember I was excited because he just played he was going to play in the World Juniors that year. But anyways, I don't know. He just seems kind of stoic. And then even when he was like in the top press box with like Lou Lamoriello and kind of stuff, like, you never saw a smile or anything. But again, fan perspective, I don't know how he's going to be. Maybe there has been a transformation from the time he was with Toronto to how he is now, which is going to be weird to me if I see him like crack a joke, because it's just going to be like, is this real? Is this for real?
I mean, it's gonna be, see that dump in there, you know. I don't know. Like, yeah,
Going back to your Brian Burke point, I know what you mean. He's kind of like a dad in a way to the other, like
More
people
like
that joke around. Like it reminds me of Jeff O'Neill, where
More like a granddad. No
well,
offense.
like Jeff O'Neill's kind of like, he has that seriousness, but he knows how to like go back and forth with things. I know he's not that much older, but it reminds me of that more than, because like Brian Burke too, like he has that deep analysis, but then when there's a comedic aspect to it, he doesn't just go,
Yeah.
all right, yeah, moving on. Like he'll go with it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I guess we'll have to see. Like when Burke was Leafs GM, I don't remember him being the way he was on TV now, like at all. Even when he was in Calgary, I think it was like he was
unintentionally funny, because he has the Marshawn Lynch thing of like, that's my answer.
Yeah.
And he just stops. And Marchand was the whole, I'm just here so I don't get fined. I like
you guys already know too. Based on my Instagram, I met Brian Burke as well.
Yes.
Nice
Yes.
guy. Really nice guy.
There's like legend around Burke too, because what we hear about Babcock off the ice is just this. Like, I think there's like, he's done stuff for like children's work and that.
Mm-hmm.
But then obviously since he like was in his time in Toronto, then like all the bad stuff comes in. But the stuff you hear about Burke is like he does all this stuff with LGBTQ and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And he almost got into a fight because one of his players got offer sheeted, and he wanted to fight someone in the bar. It's like, what?
Yes.
Hey, what is this?
Dustin Penner. Oh my gosh,
Dustin
I remember
Penner,
that.
that
Yes.
It's and plus like Burke's got the granddad charm of, he says the same stories. It's like, oh, what do you mean he drafted the Sedin?
Sorry, who did he draft?
Sedins and Kadri.
I
And
forgot.
Stuart Percy. And not the guy who went 22nd in that same draft.
Who was that?
Tyler Biggs.
Wow, interesting. Okay, next, fellas, I'm just going to read a quick tweet here. And this is, I love looking at certain teams' cap situations, and this is one from Joe Smith on Twitter. Tampa Bay Lightning GM Julien Brisebois said they'd be really close to 81.5 million cap by tomorrow. This tweet was done yesterday, by the way, so today. When start using LTIR. Well, it looks though some Jedi cap maneuvering, shout out to Daniel's tweet, Tampa Bay could be 300.
That was my tweet.
Oh, that was yours? Okay, sorry. $334. No, again, not 340,000, not 33,000. $334 shy of the 81.5 million cap hit when Boo Neves contract is added. No, it's $708K, by the way. If anyone was wondering what happening with Boo Neves, I love it.
That buys you nothing. That literally buys you nothing.
Does it even buy you a PS5?
No. Yeah. Like, oh my God.
But do they need anything?
Not necessarily. Like I could see them adding at the deadline again, a couple guys like they did last year, because they're going to be in cap hell again next year. Like this isn't going away anytime soon. Unfortunately, not really. Unfortunately, they won their cup. They can deal with it.
Yeah,
okay. Oh. Is that me who cut out? Let me.
Yeah, we're not recording.
Okay, go.
Well, now we're recording.
Sorry.
Okay, hey, we're back. Nothing went wrong at all. This is from Luke Fox Jukebox on Twitter. Maple Leaf season will be documented in an Amazon Prime series. All or Nothing, the behind-the-scenes docuseries will provide our team a way to connect with Maple Leaf fans here in Toronto and around the world like never before. Brandon Shanahan says in the release. And as Alex has said on the doc, and I believe you said it on Twitter as well, right? Yeah. Someone must have watched Drive to Survive. This is very, very interesting. And in a game where I don't think an episode goes by where we don't criticize the NHL and how small it is, this is huge for them. I mean, Daniel and I don't think we would have considered watching F1 if you hadn't gotten us into Drive to Survive, Alex, who I am scared is frozen again. Oh, no,
Nope,
it's working
just drinking
again.
water.
Yep.
But look at what Drive to Survive has done for F1. What could this series do now for the NHL, Alex?
Yeah, I think it could do a lot, and it's not even just Drive to Survive. There's been documentaries on Netflix. I think there are a couple about soccer teams. Like I know they did one for Barcelona, a couple smaller English teams, and like it's a great way to expose, because if you do it properly, it really, like, that brand exposure is huge for the team, and especially now where it's like, hey, like, we have ads on ads on helmets. We literally have ads on division names. Like, we just need revenue here. Like, right, that we need something. And I think for that, I think it's great for that specifically, but I think it's great to grow the game too, right? Like, you guys are the perfect example of how watching this show and the way they put it together got you into something. And like that exact same thing can happen to other people, whether it's in Toronto, whether it's in Columbus, whether it's in Europe. Like, I don't know, it could be anywhere. And I think
Australia.
yeah, like it could be anywhere. Like, and I think other teams should consider doing it as well. I know hockey's this whole thing where it's like we need to be secretive just to let people know that doesn't work.
No.
It worked for like 100 years, but then again, I say it every episode. There's a reason they're 4 out of 4.
Daniel.
I find it really interesting what Alex said about this whole secrecy kind of thing, because I think for years we had that running joke of the media and the Toronto Maple Leafs. I remember looking at responses to this documentary, and the Phil Kessel interviews where it's like, how is it my fault?
Yeah.
They kept playing those parts where it's just like, oh, this is going to go smoothly. And I think it's different. I think that the type of guys they have now, I know Phil Kessel has been better with the media lately, and it's a different relationship when he went to Pittsburgh and Arizona. But I think that we have these guys, and one thing I think about is Austin Matthews. He's really embraced that, celebrity athlete persona lately. Like, you remember his GQ list? That was kind of funny. That
That was an anime character.
yeah, where they're really in tune with the modern media trends of things, where I don't think it's going to be what we saw with the Leafs previously, where they had these guys that they didn't want to talk to the media, where they were pressed when they gave the very stoic get pucks deep responses. That there's a nice balance, I guess, for this year too, where they have the veterans, they have the younger guys, and they kind of have everything that's kind of going for them in a way. And one thing I kind of laugh at is when I think about Frederick Anderson and look back on the other goalies that they've had a lot of problems with being filmed with the media and everything. He's so stoic. He's so like, yeah, that was the game, and then he's like, okay, on to the next game. Like, he never really shows like a huge level of frustration. He never is someone where he has a bad game and then suddenly it's like we don't see him for a few days.
I just want to mention that the season has officially started. The game has started. The puck is dropped. Crosby won the faceoff. Sorry if that's why I was looking away. It's just because I got very, very excited.
Yeah, like, what's with those smiles?
Hockey is officially back, and I can't contain the excitement.
Feels like yesterday we were talking about Carter Verhaeghe lifting up the cup.
I know. It's so nice. Philly, let's go. Hockey. All right.
I'm saying Pittsburgh takes it.
I am too. Sidney Crosby's going to have a great game. I can just feel it in my bones. Okay, Pierre-Luc Dubois. John Tortorella apparently told 971 Randall, who is, I guess they're I have never heard of these guys, but they seem very reliable. 15,000 followers on Twitter.
I think they're a
and
radio
Friedman
show.
was backing some of this stuff up too. So
I think they're.
Listen.
I think they're.
Friedman says something, that's what gets me.
Okay.
I don't know every local media outlet. But
Okay.
anyway, so Tortorella told these guys that Dubois spoke to the team before the season. This is in regard to his trade, right? And simply Tortorella said he wants out. And Dubois hasn't told his teammates why he wants to be dealt. Now, again, people have said that maybe he wants a bigger spotlight. And I mean, it is Columbus, unfortunately. We've spoken about this before. And 31 Thoughts, oh, this is great. There was randomly out of nowhere, the 31 Thoughts guys released a new podcast today.
Yeah.
Shout out to Daniel, former 31 Thoughts guy over there, humble brag. And they talked about on the show today that apparently everyone sort of had this idea about Dubois that it was going to be definitely an after the season thing. But apparently teams have been very serious as of like now, and Kekalainen has been getting deals that have made him think. No specifics. He didn't name like this team has especially made this deal. Naturally, he mentioned the Jets and the Canadiens are interested, and we're talking. But this Dubois stuff could happen sooner rather than later, guys. And I'm getting kind of excited about it.
It'll be the most interesting part
Because
of the
he could
season.
be a Hab. Considering how dead the trade deadline may be, it very well could be. Where does he go, though? I mean, like, I'm thinking about this from Winnipeg's point of view. I know I just randomly threw it out there a few weeks ago. But what exactly does it make sense for Laine to actually go to Columbus? Because it's Rick Nash all over again.
For Columbus or for...
Is Texier going to be his line mate? If, like...
For which side?
I just wonder where it actually makes... Yeah. Looking at maybe another team, one that I mentioned was linked. Daniel, do you see a real link is it realistic that Dubois could go to an Anaheim? We know they have the assets. They have young centermen, which Columbus want. They could also provide them some defensemen. They've lost Nudavara and that. Do you see a real fit there?
In a way, I think so. I think Dubois goes into a situation where the team is good enough that, they're not going to stay at the bottom for too long, and he can be that guy. That, we don't know what Trevor Zegras, if he's going to become, quote unquote, next Ryan Getzlaf. Like, Dubois is a known commodity, but at the same time, we look at what Columbus would take back from that trade in terms of assets. Like, are they going to take a step back and try to get a bunch of these quality young guys that are eventually going to develop, but it's going to take a few years to get there? Because I also look at what they have in terms of salary committed and the years that are committed, like, a Cam Atkinson, a Savard, a Nyquist, a Bjorkstrand. Like, are these guys that want to be willing to stick around if they take another step back, trading away a homegrown, like, potential star in Pierre-Luc Dubois?
Yeah, I mean, it would be so nice if they could actually keep a star around. Alex, do you see any other realistic fits for where Dubois could end up?
Yeah, I think one team that's, in the last couple of years, pretty much, has been the Rangers.
See, that's an interesting one.
It's just unfair at that point.
Well, they were linked to Eichel, right?
Oh yeah, for that hour where people were like, "Yeah, he's gonna get traded."
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Bob
my thought
McKenzie with
process.
the late night
I think,
tweets.
Yeah, I think that they'd be a candidate. I don't know if they'd actually do it. Like, I think they have assets that they could potentially give up, but they'd have to give up quite a bit to get Pierre-Luc Dubois. I don't know if it's necessarily worth it for them. It might be the better route for them to just develop the prospects they have, but it's a realistic target because they're looking for a guy to either be better than Mika Zibanejad or they're looking for a 1-2 punch realistically. Like, they're looking for what Toronto has. They're looking for what Pittsburgh has. They're looking for what Tampa Bay has.
Mm-hmm. See, the two of you, one thread I'm kind of realizing here is the idea of, is there a prospect in our system that can turn into what Pierre-Luc Dubois already is? And what people have to be careful at is looking at his hockey DB page, because there's been years where he has been offensively, dynamite. But then you're going to look at maybe last year and realize, okay, where's that production? You have to remember the system he plays. But I think his playoff performances in the past have sort of reminded people of how good he is. So, like, just a note for people there. And the question of do we have a centerman that it can be that good, and we don't know what he might be, could be a route for the Canadiens to make that move. Now, naturally, when a big centerman becomes available over the past few years, they've been linked to them. And when he's French, that's another layer. And of course, if Columbus had picked Jesse Puljujarvi, Dubois would actually be a Montreal Canadien by now. It's a long story dating back to the PK Subban trade between the Canucks and Montreal that never happened. But Jarmo screwed that whole thing up. So in a separate timeline, he's actually a Canadian. Now, naturally, if you are the Blue Jackets, the first thing you're saying is, I want Nick Suzuki. And then it's a question of, no.
Is it?
Yes, I think it
How
is.
But listen, there's the perfect match sitting right in front of Jarmo Kekalainen. Jarmo Kekalainen's Finnish, right? Wouldn't it be perfect that he brought in Jesperi Kotkaniemi?
I think right now, the first centerman you would ask for is Suzuki.
Yeah.
Now, if there's a scenario where they says, I want Suzuki, and it's like, no, then you say, all right, I want KK.
Yeah.
Because the difference is right now, and this would probably work in Columbus' advantage if they worked and waited this year, because then you all of a sudden see two storylines in Montreal. You see what Kotkaniemi has in maybe a year that isn't filled with injuries, and you see what ends up happening with the Philip Deneau situation. I am a lot more comfortable. And listen, if this trade does not happen and the Canadiens go with their centerman right now, I'm okay with it. But if there is a deal to be done, I think it makes a lot more sense for the Canadiens to say, all right, we'll send Kotkaniemi that way. Now, I don't think the Finnish thing is instantly that, because people seem to have this idea that Kekalainen, that's the allergic to Finns. And that goes back to the whole Puljujarvi, I don't need him for the thing.
Or he just knew something that other people didn't.
Yeah.
It was a shock when he drafted. Again, at the time, that move didn't make sense because it was, okay, we're getting a centerman, but he had only played center that half year in junior, did Dubois. It's amazing that he's this good. But then I wonder, where, because obviously the trade starts with, let's concoct a deal here. And something that Friedman mentioned today on 31 Thoughts was, if there is a trade and there is before anyone asks about cap implications, Columbus can add Dubinsky as LTIR because he's done. So that's a big cap situation. So you wouldn't have to worry about that. And of course, for security's sake, there is Dubois is an RFA at the end of this.
Right.
There makes sense here. You obviously start with a first round pick. You add the centerman. If they need a defenseman, the Canadian, obviously you're not touching Romanov, but no. I think this could happen. Bergevin, if you want extra picks, he's got picks.
Right. There's a route there. I think if there's a team that has assets and could really use Dubois, it is Montreal. I don't know what if my thought, when I look at, I said the Rangers, but when I look at the Rangers, what are you giving up of significance? They have assets, but how many good assets do you have? Not good, great assets do you have? I think they have a lot of good assets. The younger guys that are starting to come up, but how many great assets do they have?
That fit looking at centerman.
Yeah.
There's not really that guy. Now there are guys like Kravtsov. Mm-hmm. Obviously great names in there. But of course, if we're talking about players, good players that are at least forwards, it's not going to happen because they're going to ask for Lafreniere. Because, who else even on their roster, besides, they're big guys, you're not trading Panarin, and you're not going to ask for Kreider or Zibanejad, obviously. No. And I don't know if you would, even if you're Columbus, you would ask for a Capo Caco right now. But we are moving on here because we do have to cut some stuff. Just dropped that. Sorry. I'm gonna say for now, let's cut Kane until next episode because we have lost a bit of time.
Yeah.
and Evander Kane. I feel like,
He's
It's
had his
ongoing,
issues.
so there'll
Yeah,
be more
it's
details to talk
prob-
about next
sure.
episode.
and there's a very good Athletic article that people can read about the Evander Kane stuff.
Yeah.
I'm worried about talking about that because that just screams libel lawsuit if you wrote that the wrong way.
Yeah.
But anyway, we will preview. It's taken me this long to realize that I haven't mentioned the fact that Daniel's got his Ducks jersey on. Alex has his Leafs jersey on, and I'm sporting my Jonathan Drew and Habs jersey. The Canadiens and the Leafs. I don't know what else there is to really say. You don't really need to build up a Canadiens and a Leafs game.
No.
So I guess what I'll simply do here right now is ask both of you, and I'll start here with Alex. What are you expecting tonight from both teams?
Okay. I've been thinking about this all day because I heard, there's these guys who are in the best shape of their lives. And, there's training camp. But I don't necessarily think it's going to be the best hockey ever. Even in a regular season with exhibition games and a proper training camp, the first few games really aren't the greatest hockey. So,
You are getting a little robot-y.
oh, how about now?
Oh, it's getting worse.
You cut out a bit.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
You sounded like how Megatron looked at the end of Transformers. We can hear you, yeah, but
It just cuts out a bit, towards the end of the sentence.
How about now?
Give us a little something.
Yeah,
give
so
us
I was
something.
just saying about it's not going to be the greatest hockey just because it's an odd season.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, it sounded like it fixed there.
Okay.
Yeah. We I almost said it was ring rust. That's wrestling. They're going to be rusty, first of all. Even if they had obviously these guys played. The off season has been shorter than normal, a little extended because they were supposed to start at the beginning of January, but it's still the normal sort of knockoff that we'd see when the seasons start normally. Plus, they have less of a training camp and no preseason games to get ready for.
Yeah, I still think it's going to be a good game, though.
Alex?
I agree with this. I think there's so many different aspects of each team that you're going to see a lot more of a rollout of the lines where you're going to try to experiment in a way.
Your camera's frozen, by the way, Alex. Okay, it's fixed now.
It's okay.
Right?
Just keep going. Just keep going.
Okay. All right. I guess first off, stories to keep an eye on, as always, is first off, Austin Matthews has a very terrible tendency of scoring a goal in every home opener he's ever played in. And he also loves scoring on Carey Price in the first month of the season. I think he's done it. It's a ridiculous amount.
It's 4 times, right?
I believe so.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous because obviously his debut game was the famous one, and then he has that naturally a scorer is going to score, but he'll be looking to set that record, of course. And naturally for the Canadiens, and we're talking about rust, there will be a question of what will that Canadiens team look like with the injection of so many different players? How will certain guys play? I'm just wondering if also on the Leafs, of course, there are some new additions, but maybe if you guys give me a couple players that you're sort of looking at, just kind of see how they're fitting in with their new squads.
Daniel, did you want to go first?
Okay, sure. Okay, so I think 2 guys I really want to look for is Wayne Simmonds and TJ Brody. I really want to see how Brody kind of fits in with that those top pairings with see how he goes with the Morgan Riley. That's something that I've been anticipating to see how that really goes. Why Kyle Dubas has been wanting this guy for 2 years, and just want to kind of really see, is this, not is this it, but is this finally where we can say, no more carousel beside Morgan Riley.
Mm-hmm.
And for Wayne Simmonds, I think I've always been such a huge fan of him that his type of game, I still think perfectly translates. I don't think that, he's one of those players that's way past his prime, but I really understand that there are those type of players that his style is something that, doesn't always age too well. But I think he can still play at a pretty high level. It just didn't really work out with him last year with the Devils and the Sabres. But I think now he's playing in a role that perfectly suits where he is in his career, and something I think the Leafs absolutely needed.
Mm-hmm. Alex.
Yeah, just Austin Matthews has 9 goals in 4 opening night games.
Jesus.
4 in the first one, 1 in his second year, and then the last 2 years he's scored 2 in each game.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember who they played though, except Ottawa, obviously. But so there's a couple of guys. There's TJ Brody and Wayne Simmonds. I'm also interested to see what Jimmy Vesey looks like. Just because he was supposed to be so good. Right, the VC sweepstakes. Unfortunately, Toronto lost it the first time, but I'm interested to see how he plays, because he's going to be next to Tavares and Nylander, and specifically with Tavares, he props guys up. Right, last year or a couple of years ago, Marner, last year Nylander, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm interested to see how Tavares rubs off on VC. If they continue to go with that line. TJ Brody, same as Daniel was saying, pretty much it gives Riley like his best partner he's ever had, period. And Dubas has wanted this guy since he traded Kadri. So I'm interested to see what he sees in this guy. And Simmonds is, everyone wanted him to come back to Toronto. And he really fits what the team needed, even though they lost Kyle Clifford, as Brian Burke would say. They didn't add Wayne Simmonds. They lost Kyle Clifford. But I think Wayne Simmonds does a little bit more than Kyle Clifford. I saw Kyle Clifford as extremely gritty, but I think Wayne Simmonds is extremely gritty, but he has a different element to his game as well. And now that he's had a full year off, pretty much a full year off, I think we're going to see a rested Wayne Simmonds, and I don't think we've seen that in a while.
I would hope that tonight the best thing to not notice would actually be TJ Brody. You know what I mean? Just to make sure that Morgan can go do his thing. It's a classic thing of, if I don't notice Jacob Slavin, it's a great night. If I noticed Carl Elsner, we were in for a rough night when he was a Canadian.
I just add to one more thing. I think I mentioned it earlier, but I think for the Canadian side, it's just that depth, that rolling out of the lines of what they've really added, seeing what really works, because I think this is probably one of the deepest Montreal teams I've seen in quite some time.
Yeah, I was going to ask that next. Because I did mean, when I asked names, I was hoping you'd give me some on both squads there.
Oh, okay,
I thought I didn't know. Okay,
now.
I can do that too.
No. Yeah, please.
Okay, so I guess I feel like these are cheesy answers, but I'm saying Kotkaniemi and Suzuki. I think it's easy to say Toffoli and Anderson, but I think those two guys, because they're young and we saw them take next steps in the playoffs. Now the real question is, can they take those next steps over a full NHL season?
Daniel, you talked about the depth itself. Is there an individual player from the Canadian, or 2 players maybe? I don't know. However many you want. Maybe you have.
I think for me, there's 3. So number 1, Nick Suzuki, the development. I love the guy, Asian player. I want him to continue to kind of develop in his role. I think I saw with the expected lines, he's supposed to be the first line center tonight. And I just kind of want him to keep, stay there, keep that consistency going. Second is Tyler Toffoli, because I just love his game, and I love that I predicted that he was going to come to Montreal. So I'm going to keep remembering that for the season. And third is Carey Price, still one of my favorite players, someone that I just love that he's still dominating, that he still kind of showed last year I could still be, arguably the best goalie in the game.
For my side, first for the Leafs, I'm really, really interested to see what Mitch Marner is going to look like this entire season. I just have this really unfortunate feeling for the Canadiens that he's just going to come out and be he's going to hit another level, which is kind of weird to say about Mitch Marner because he's already so good. But without the contract's been out the way and, just the events that have happened in the past year, that now that sort of the heat's been off of him. Also Joe Thornton, just to see what he's like in the new environment. Just because he's just been such a thing of the Shark, you wonder if there will be a bit of a jolt. And then I felt I mentioned the defenseman beside Brody, Muzzin again, because it's really felt like. Is it weird to say that Muzzin's the best defenseman on the Leafs?
No,
because I feel like he is, and again, I think he's going to be another guy who he's just going to be such a centerpiece of that team this year. And if they were going to, because he's just such a rare talent, I think Muzzin on both ends of the ice. So I'll be very much looking forward to watching him. Again, not against the Canadiens.
I still don't think people appreciate that trade.
No, I mean, Grundstrom's getting in trouble being part of a team that's having gambling issues, but
man, remember when I loved that guy? I kept talking about him.
Yes.
And for the Canadiens, number one, Josh Anderson. I am so interested to see how his season turns out. And it feels like he's this kind of phenom, like almost like an animal at the zoo when everyone's like pointing at, look at him, he's great. He's like a lion or something. He's like the big gorilla, an orangutan or something. Like the ones from, is it the orangutan? What's the big red monkeys that are from, or apes that are from Planet of the Apes? Are they orangutans?
I don't know.
Going off camera.
I gotta watch that movie again.
I just thought they were apes.
They're kind of like,
check out next episode and we confirm.
But like the big fellas, and naturally Alexander Romanov, because obviously the young guys, you expect the next step, but you get a general sense of their game. But Romanov is just such an unknown, really. It's clear he is an NHL player from just the way. It's kind of weird to say just from a drill, but you can tell. And just it seems like they trust him already, which is so strange because they have not been like this with a player in a very long time. Mm-hmm. So that's what I'm excited for. That and Jake Allen, really. Because Jake Allen, why not? He won't be playing tonight, but yeah. But Josh Anderson.
I thought you were going to say Jake Evans.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I mean, listen, I love Jake Evans, but he'll just be a safe, nice Kulak as well. Why not? All right. I believe that is everything. Because Vander Kane is on that.
Before we go, one question, and it could be quick.
Yes.
And we're probably going to update you again mid-season about this. But what is the Ryan Poehling watch?
He is on the taxi squad, I believe. And I don't know what the priority is to be able to get him in, because I know Frolik has played center before, but I'm a more natural winger. But I'd like to, again, remember he's a very young player, ceiling third line guy. I hope he gets in, and I don't think he had camp was short, but you didn't hear his name. Jake Evans very much had the inside track to that job, I'd say. So I don't know. To be honest, if maybe he pulls a Roslovic and he's like, I want out of here. But I mean, right now it's just, I don't know what they're going to be doing with Poehling. I don't even know if he's part of their future plans. But
maybe he's part of a Pierre-Luc Dubois trade. We'll see.
I mean,
sure.
Well, there's going to be added value because if that happens, the Canadiens need to do Binsky LTIR because of their cap situation. So I don't know. Maybe additionally, they're like, I'll give me KK and give me Poehling. Why not? Again, next episode we'll talk about Evander Kane and how the season is going so far because we'll have hockey back by then. Also, we haven't really talked about it a ton. I don't know how we forgot to mention this last episode. Dallas, it's been a thing for a few days now. Their season is being delayed or the start of their season is being delayed because they have a bunch of trouble with COVID. We talked about it pre-show before we were recording, but well wishes to all of those guys. And I believe some of the Canucks. Okay, COVID protocol has been given for a lot of players like Jordy Ben, some other guys from the Pittsburgh Philly game like Gossip Bear and that. So well wishes to any one of the players who are getting affected. And luckily the NHL have said that they have planned for this because naturally everyone has, and there is space to make up these games. So well wishes to the Dallas Stars.
Did they do a smart thing?
They did a smart thing.
The NHL did a smart thing. Check mark.
Check mark. Green star. I mean, gold star.
Gold star.
Maybe it's a green star because
Green Star.
Shout out to the Canadiens app. It's time to drop the puck. No, it's not. Not for another 40 minutes. They do this every goddamn year. Okay. By the way, one more thing that I have to mention. I have to find a red one. My mother has a very bad habit of eating gummy bears when the games are on because it's just so stressful.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a red gummy bear here.
Hey.
This is no, you can't eat it. No.
You can't eat the
I'm
red
probably
gummy.
gonna eat it later, but this is Barry Gooley. So the Brendan Gooley, it's Barry Gooley, even though Caden's the Canadian and the other one's the star. But he is the good luck charm today. He'll sit right here and he'll watch the game.
And then you're gonna eat
wanna
him after. You're gonna eat him after.
Or if we're
Is it out of spite or out of celebration?
depends on how the score is.
Okay.
Both.
At any given time. But yeah, so that's everything, lads. Thank you for bearing with us today. We had some technical difficulties there, but hockey is back. We have distractions in our lives because it's still a bit of a mess, the world is. Thank you to Voice Set, as always, for being a fantastic platform for the show. We love you. Check out the YouTube portion of the show, visual experience, see all our beautiful jerseys. Be sure to check out, I know I said the YouTube. I'm so sorry, but if you're in the YouTube again, because I accidentally told you to, go to the comments, let us know what players in the North Division, or any division, but the North Division, because Canada is all that matters, guys. Yeah. What players are you looking forward to see this season? Maybe it's Nathan McKinnon. We'll make an exception for him because he's the best player in the world. Check out my YouTube channel. There will be an HFR after this game. It will be done tomorrow, though, because I will be too tired from this and watching the Colorado game. So I'm going to have to find out how to watch because it's not on TV.
What?
We all know how we watch. Yeah, it's not because Sportsnet are obviously prioritizing the Canadian games, right?
Yeah.
Be sure to check out Alex's blog. And I believe we have an audio insert for what Daniel's doing.
What?
We got Will to do
Did
that,
we?
right? You got that right, Daniel?
That doesn't sound like a yes.
This is pending maybe our Sunday episode.
Okay.
Yes.
I misunderstood our text conversation in the group chat. Then.
No problem.
Okay.
But that's the preview for what may come up on Sunday. Check out Will Baldwin on the show.
Check out Will Baldwin. Check out his airball.com stuff. I'm sure he'll have something about Harden ready. Okay, that's it. Enjoy the hockey. 5 stars on Spotify and premium and all that stuff. Woo! Yeah. Go Habs, go!